The following podcast will contain spoilers, tangents, hot takes, and excessive foul language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, horror fans, and welcome to episode 334 of Frightmares. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and today I am being joined by the director of a brand new horror movie that just dropped on Shudder called The Twin, Mr. J.C. Doler. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing pretty good. This was like probably the quickest interview I think I've ever set up. Usually it takes some time to get answers from people, and then I'll schedule it weeks in advance. But I mean, I just watched The Twin Friday, and now it's Tuesday, and we're doing the interview. So thank you for your quick response and willingness to be on the show. Greatly appreciate that. It means a lot to me. So if you haven't heard about,
got me at a great time.
Yeah, I guess I did. I like I said, like I was telling you before we went on air, my buddy Spencer, who's also another co-host on this show, he wrote a review that you liked, and then he let me know. So I was like, maybe I should try reaching out. And I tried finding you on Instagram, and I think I found you because I clicked the little link that took me to aisle 7, and I was like, I'll just contact this way. And then every single email you sent me went into my spam folder, so I had to keep going in there to check. I'm like, you think after I put the first one into my inbox, it would just shoot it to my inbox. But no, they all went to my junk mail. So, but yeah, thank you for being here today. This is exciting. This is a brand new movie, like I mentioned. Now, it does have 2024 as the release date. I assume that's probably when you were doing like the festival runs and stuff like that. So it was completed last year, but didn't get released to streaming until this year, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we premiered at Austin Film Festival in October of 2024, like right around Halloween. And but yeah, for some reason, like IMDb and like other places won't change it to 2025. It says 2024, which it's not ideal, but it is what it is. So.
Yeah, I'm counting it as a release for this year because my rule is like if I can't watch it until the year it was streaming or available in theaters, then I just count it for 2025. So it'll be on my 2025 horror movies watch list on Letterboxd.
Perfect.
Yeah, so if you don't know about The Twin, it is pretty new. Unfortunately, it did get buried. I noticed that today because I went to go put it on to get some questions, and I noticed that it's the first of the month now, so it got buried behind all the new releases from Shudder. But it's it's still a new release for this year, and it's amazing. Also on Letterboxd, there are a lot of things called The Twin. So when you search Letterboxd, go to The Twin from 2024 because there were a few things up there. So The Twin, let me get the description here. After the tragic loss of his son, a man begins experiencing terrifying visions of a shadowy figure that looks like himself. As reality unravels, he must confront his past and the supernatural force haunting him before it consumes him completely. So like I said, I read that and immediately was like, sold. That's all the information I need. And then I noticed a familiar face, honestly, Robert Longstreet. I know him from some of Mike Flanagan's work. And I was like double sold. So I threw it on Friday night when I had the house to myself, cranked up the surround sound, turned all the lights off. And that's like the best way, to watch any horror movie, but definitely this one. So before we do talk about The Twin, obviously I want to get a little information about you because sometimes the IMDb summaries for directors doesn't give me a lot. So I always ask the question of like, you're directing horror movies. It's safe to assume that you are into horror movies, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So then
Absolutely.
Let's start from the beginning then. When did you first get into horror movies? Was this something in your childhood? Like me, for example, I didn't get into them until I was like 15. So I was a late bloomer.
Gotcha.
So what about you?
Well, the first movie that I remember seeing in theaters is Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell.
Yes.
And I was born in 1988. And so for those who don't know, that movie came out in 1993.
Yep.
And so I was about 5. So I've always my family's always been into horror movies. Like it's just been a thing. And so maybe that was bad parenting. I don't know. But it was, I don't have any regrets.
I love it. Okay, so you got to see that in theaters very young. So basically, you got exposed to it at a young age, and then pretty much just I assume you seeked them out as you got older, and
Yeah.
the passion for horror just grew.
Yeah, as soon as that guy ate Jason's heart, I was in. I'm like, this is it. All right. So, yeah.
That's amazing. We actually covered Jason Goes to Hell this year for
Nice.
Yeah, so we as much as I don't think it's really a good movie, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Like it's not great, but it's fun. So
Yeah, I mean they're campy, and that's it. They're fun. They're not meant to be Oscar winners.
Exactly. Okay. So in your childhood, you're watching horror movies. Was there ever a moment where you were like, maybe I want to get into making films? Or I noticed your IMDb, you have like over 50 credits for editing. So seems like editing is your passion for movies, for movie making.
So editing is my pays my bills.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I've always wanted to be a film director since I wanted to be in film.
Okay.
But I really started out as like, I wanted to be an animator growing up, and then because I was very artistic, and then eventually I got to work on movie sets because I grew up in Georgia, and Hollywood started taking over Georgia mid 2000s.
Yep.
And so I was working on independent productions over there, volunteering my services on productions just to get in and see how it was working. I networked from there and worked my way up, originally realizing that I wanted to direct and I wanted to write these stories. I wanted to do that. And so I just kind of went towards that direction, started making my own short films, and then working on a lot of other people's projects just to network, to learn more and to make it that way.
Okay, yeah, I noticed one of the credits that stood out to me was for Dumb and Dumber 2. You were a location manager or something? Please tell me about this.
Yes, I was a locations PA. They ended up shooting the film in my hometown of Grantville, Georgia.
Oh.
And so they shot it there, and my dad had a veterans association there, and they were really it was a really awesome production. It was really fun. I got to meet Jim Carrey, and like that was amazing. So, and he was absolutely awesome. I have a great experience with him. And so I happened to, like, whenever they were scouting the town before they were filming, they met some people in town, like my dad and some other people who were like, "Are you working with Colby or JC?" And so they wondered who I was because everyone in town kept talking about me. It's a small town. And so that's how I got onto that production. Is the locations manager was like, I got to talk to this guy, and they reached out to me, and I was like, heck yeah, I'd love to work on this. And then it was great. It's kind of serendipitous how that worked out.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing because I always like to stalk the IMDb pages of people and find something that stands out. And that one I was like, interesting. Okay, I got to know the story here. That's crazy. I didn't know that they shot it in a small town like that. But yeah, I mean, Hollywood took over. There's the big city there. Where they shoot everything. Is it Covington, Georgia, maybe?
Conyers, and then they shoot at Pinewood, and it's Covington. Yeah, I moved away from Georgia 10 years ago, and Pinewood opened right after I moved.
Okay. Yeah, I know Covington. Covington, Dr. Sleep was shot there. Well, some scenes was shot there. I know some Vampire Diaries, I think, episodes were shot there as well.
Yeah.
So,
you see my credit for Vampire Diaries on there?
You got a credit? Did I miss that? Oh, shit.
I was the photo double for Stefan in the first season.
No shit. That's amazing. Okay. Yeah, so going through all your stuff, like I said, you have a lot of short films you've done. You've directed some, edited some, produced some. I mean, you have like a multitude of credits for producing, editing, all this stuff, which is very impressive. I was actually on the Aisle 7 page and noticed Warpaint, because in your IMDb summary it says he's most known for Warpaint. So I actually watched that last night because it was available straight from your site, and that was an incredible short film. Like I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Was there any sort of inspiration? Because I saw pictures at the end of it, like real life pictures. Was there? You said your dad was in the VA. Was it kind of inspiration from his experience?
Yeah, so Warpaint is the story of my dad's experience in Vietnam, and so I play my dad in the film.
I noticed that.
So I wrote it from his memoir that he wrote for me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So if anybody hasn't seen that, go to Aisle 7 and on their website, and you can check that out. It was a really good short. I like how you filmed it, basically almost extreme close up of you the entire time, and just kind of it was very good. And that premiered at Tribeca or something like that as well?
Yep, 2019 Tribeca, right before COVID, so it was great.
I know COVID just royally messed everything up production-wise.
Absolutely.
So getting through that was probably just, oh my God, a nightmare. And then I saw...
Well, thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I recommend that to anybody. Actually, can you rate that on Letterboxd? Because if you can, I should probably rate that.
Yeah, okay. You can.
I'll go rate that then. And then I noticed another one for Chad Gets the Axe. That I think is that a Shudder original or an exclusive or something?
It's a Shudder exclusive. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Shudder original one is Deadstream, which a lot of people compare it to.
Yeah. And I remember watching that one. And I really enjoyed that one as well. So you've done a lot of stuff. And what kind of made you want to start Aisle 7? Because from what I've read on there, you've got a few people, you do editing, producing, and all that stuff. So is it essentially a place where people can kind of send you their material and you compile it into a finished product? Is that kind of what Aisle 7 does?
Yeah, we're mostly like Aisle 7's mostly like it's two things. One, it's when me and my wife make our own films. It's the production company behind that, and otherwise it's a post-production company that we're available for hire.
Okay.
So yeah, and we do mostly just editing and 2D visual effects.
Okay, so how did that come to be? What was the moment how long has that been around, Aisle 7?
Aisle 7's now been around since 2021.
Okay.
And so it really came about like I said, mentioned COVID earlier, like after COVID, I really just wanted to fall into freelance as much as possible. I was kind of getting tired of working on commercial projects all the time without having any say in them. I was working for companies that I was kind of under, and I didn't want to have a boss, and my wife didn't want to have a boss except for ourselves. And so we started Aisle 7 to be a full service post-production company in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is where we're based.
Oh, okay. Very nice. So what does your wife do in on Aisle 7? What is her role?
She's also an editor.
Oh, nice.
And she's also a director.
Well, okay. I love it.
Yeah.
Very nice. So yeah, go check them out, Aisle 7. Show them some love. Do you guys have a Facebook for the production company as well? Or Instagram?
We are terrible. We need to manage our social media pages more. We've been busy, so that's a good thing. That's the reason why. But yes, there is a Facebook page for Aisle 7.
Okay. I'll have to go check that out, and then on Instagram as well. But yeah, go show them some love. Check out their material. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. There's a couple other ones that were linked to the page that I want to check out. But this happened so quickly. I was like, let me at least watch Warpaint, because that was the first one up, and I was like, let me check that out. So yeah, from 2013 was your first short film, and then you directed about 6 short films until about 2018, at least according to IMDb. What made you want to dip your toe into doing a feature-length film? Were you just seeing, is that kind of just the next step?
Yeah, so I mean, like if I had the money back then, I would have done it then, but I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad I took the time to grow and learn since then. But in 2016, we made a short film called Hangman.
Okay.
And that's what The Twin is based off of, which is that short film. And you can find that on YouTube, or it's actually an episode of Bloody Bites on Screenbox. Anyway, you can find it online. It's pretty easy to find. But it's Hangman 2016, and it's just a 13-minute short film about a guy stuck in a house alone, and it doesn't want to leave. And sees his own doppelganger, just like The Twin. Okay. And so we got a lot of interest from that. It did really well on the indie festival circuit. It played in a ton of festivals. People really liked it. And we got some interest in that for a feature film version. And so I started writing a feature film based off of that. And 6 years later, we actually were able to raise the money and finally get it filmed and get it out there. So it was a long journey from 2016 to 2022 to start making it, but a few bumps along the way.
So you wrote, edited, directed, produced. I mean, you basically did everything for The Twin.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, there was a ton of people that did so much other stuff too as well. Right. But yeah, I kind of wore a lot of hats on this. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, at this level of indie film production, you kind of have to. You got to really be your own biggest cheerleader on this. And so, but luckily I had a lot of other cheerleaders around me, my wife namely. And we kind of just got down and just all did it ourselves and really hustled to get it done. But yes, I wore a lot of hats. Yeah.
We've done one short film that I'm editing now, and I'm realizing that It is not easy. Not that I expected it to be easy in any regard, but you film it, you get all the shots done, and you're like, wow, that was a lot of fun. And then you try to compile it all together, and you're like, this is where the real challenge begins, because now I'm thinking, oh, well, this doesn't add up with this continuity here. Oh, this shot's not working with this, so reshoots are a thing. Like, it's not an easy feat to put together even a short film, let alone an entire film. So I have the utmost respect for anyone that puts out a finished product, because it is extremely challenging, especially for me when I don't really know what I'm doing. I have the idea of what I'm doing. Lighting, though, was definitely the most annoying thing to do. Lighting was extremely hard for me because, I'm like, yeah, I get the idea of the key. Like, I get the idea, fill light, key light. I understand all this, and then you look at it on the camera and you're like, that's not working. So I have to ask you about one scene when the kid's name. I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on the young kid's name. Jacob, there we go. When he falls down the stairs, right, and you've got Nicholas running over, I noticed it was so simple, but the color grading went from like a warm tone and then instantly dissolved into this blue tone. Was that just color grading, or did you do that in camera with lights?
So yeah, that's in camera. We had what we called a happy filter, and then the sad filter. That's what our cinematographer kept calling it. And it was this gold sort of lens filter that we had on for all the pre-death scenes. Right. And then we just swapped them out for the next take, and then we just crosses all of those two shots, kept the camera locked there. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah. I noticed that. I tend to notice things like that, and I had to rewind it to make sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. But it's such a subtle thing that really kind of, it transforms this scene from this nice, warm, everybody's having fun to, oh, now it's a very serious kind of colder tone. So I appreciated that a lot. I even sent a clip to my buddy. I was like, check this out. Like, I don't see things like this a lot. So talking about the twin, let's kind of transition into the movie itself. This movie for me, at least from a viewing standpoint, does three very important things within like the first 10 minutes. You get the established lore of the fetch with the description. So that was like, cool, check right there. Love that. And then you have a killer cold open that creates a lot of mystery, a lot of horror, that they do explain later, but that grabs your attention because you have young Nicholas in his house with, some entity, some presence asking to let him in the room, and then they grab him and pull him out. And then you switch over to what's going on with Nicholas and his family, and at least for me, I had an established immediate connection to that family, which is not easy to do with what we have them on screen before Jacob falls down the stairs for like 2-3 minutes. So it's like boom, boom, boom. Wow. Okay. I'm into this. We've got some lore about a fetch. We've got a killer cold open, and then you've got the camaraderie with the family, which is, you can tell that they're very loving and that they're great parents. So it's very hard to do that. So for me, I was like, okay, I'm very into this. And then of course, tragedy strikes, Jacob falls down the stairs, and so much happens within those moments. You're kind of, all my emotions were going all over the place. And even Nicholas then tries to hang himself because he's grief-stricken over what happened. It's like, I just don't know how you managed to do so much without it feeling overwhelming. There's not really necessarily a question in here. It's more of just like, I appreciate how you were able to grab my attention so quickly, because I think that's important for the beginning of a film. You have to create some sort of a hook to get people in there, and then it's just like I said, I connected to the family. I don't know if anybody else did. I haven't talked to my friend about it yet, but for me, the opening 10 minutes are very important, and then once it kind of fizzles out, then you get into the horror of of Nicholas seeing this fetch and basically tormenting him the rest of the movie. So it's a very good opening, and then even in the first 30 minutes, there's also so much stuff that happens. Nicholas gets out of the state institution that he's in. He's got a therapist dumped on him, and now he's in his grandma's house alone. No one's there. His wife is like, I've got a lot to do, so I'm going to leave you here. For me in that position, man, that would suck. Now I don't have anybody. I have no son, no wife, and now I've got to talk to this therapist, which is Robert Longstreet, and he was incredible. talking about the two characters, I never heard of Logan Donovan before, and he is really what sells this film. Where did you find him? How did you guys link up, and how did he get this role in The Twin?
Logan is great, and when we met him through our producer Alexander Jeffrey, who actually was in acting school, or he took an acting class with him years and years ago. And whenever we were trying to cast the film, with horror, we knew we weren't going to have a huge budget, so we couldn't cast a huge name person. But luckily, horror doesn't really need that to get its audience, right? Horror, if it looks scary or if it looks good, people will watch it. And so Logan was a great actor, and Alex recommended him, saying, like, I think this guy would be perfect for this. He's got the acting chops, he's got the look, and we met Logan through him, and we just hit it off. And he loved the script immediately. We actually met him in 2019, 3 years before we shot. And he fell in love with a very early version of the script, and then he kind of helped us develop it from there. A little bit. So like he would give his opinions, like, because we already decided we were going to cast him early on, and then through that process, through COVID and all that, we kept workshopping it a little bit, trying to write it more towards his sensibilities.
So in a way, I guess COVID kind of helped you, because there, everything was shut down, so you were kind of able to flesh the script out a little bit more.
Absolutely, yeah. It was kind of a forced sort of like focus time,
right?
And which was great, because we ended up rewriting the script, getting and able to put it on a few times. And then we were able to put it on the blacklist. It did really well, and then we submitted it to Screamfest, and we won Screamfest for the best screenplay at Screamfest in 2021. And that really helped us with our investors to get funding. So that really boosted the confidence. So that helped a lot.
Wow, yeah, because I also noticed you won something at the Austin Film Festival, right? It was like best
audience award for best horror.
There you go. Yeah, so you've already won some awards with this, and I think it's very well deserved, because
thank you.
Because like I've noticed a trend recently. I feel like Hereditary in 2018 really kicked off a wave of grief and trauma related horror movies. And while I don't think it's weird, because like I don't think this necessarily does something like different or new, but how you tell the story is really what sells me on it, because I've seen a lot of movies that like grief and trauma, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but this one, for me, I think I have more of a intimate connection with it, because mental health is a very important topic to me, because mental health is that line that Dr. Beaumont says. Mental health isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility. I was like, good Lord, that hit me like a sack of bricks, because it's very true. So I think I connected to this very deeply, because I've had problems with addiction. I've attempted my life and stuff like that. So for me, I just have a very strong connection to the story in this, and him actually overcoming that, the challenges that arise when you have that situation for him with his kid dying. I mean, that's a very traumatic experience, especially because he was maybe 4 or 5 years old, I want to say, maybe
5,
6.
Yeah.
Exactly.
5.
So for me, I just related to it so much, and I think that's important with movies. If I can relate to the story that's being told, ultimately, I'm going to think it's a very it's a very good story, which I do think it is. And kind of going back to the start of this movie, I'd love to talk about The Fetch, because it's something I've actually never heard of, and I do love a good movie with folklore, and this is an Irish kind of folklore, right? That's what it said it's the Doctor's Fetch and other Irish tales.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So where'd you find that? Because like the first thing I did was, when I saw Fetch, was I looked it up. I was like, oh, this is like a real thing, and I've never heard of it. So that's another thing that kind of drew me in, was, ooh, this is folklore I have not heard of. So how did you happen to come across the idea of The Fetch?
Yeah, so which I love the name, the Fetch. Like Fetch, it just sounds really cool. We so originally the short film, like I mentioned, was just called Hangman, and it was just about a guy seeing his doppelganger. That's where the initial horror idea came from. My wife actually thought it would be scary to see her evil twin, and we're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so we just went with that. And then throughout writing the film, like, we wanted to give it a little more character and not just be just an evil twin. We wanted to explain it more.
Right.
And we were playing at a film festival in Arkansas called El Dorado Film Festival, and we met this producer there, who's this Australian producer, super nice guy named Robbie Miles, who was like, "Have you heard of the concept of a fetch?" He's Australian, telling us Americans about this Irish thing. It was just weird, and we're like, "No, that sounds cool. What is that?" And we looked it up, and like you said, it is a real thing. It's a real Irish folklore. The crazy thing is there's almost nothing about it. It's just a Irish folk tale, and there's some, people might have their own personal stories about it, but like there's the actual story of the Doctor's Fetch is like this 4 or 5 paragraph little story, and that's it. And so it kind of we kind of had carte blanche to like do whatever we wanted with it. So we tried to keep it accurate to what a fetch is, but also update it a little bit for our needs. But I think some of the mystery is helpful. At least I hope so. That we don't over-explain it. It's just an evil entity that's just a doppelganger. But that's how we found it is through this guy Robbie Miles, and luckily there wasn't too much that we had to do to kind of fill in the blanks.
Well, and I like that too, because it's something that I'm assuming, the average viewer may not know. And I looked it up, and it's basically, a fetch is a spirit or double of a living person that appears as an omen, most often of death. And that's basically it. So you do have a little wiggle room there to kind of do your own thing, which I really like. So, and going to the very opening scene, the cold open with Nicholas and his grandmother, it's later explained by Dr. Beaumont what he thinks is going on. His grandmother used to read this to him around bedtime, and he's like, "I'm not a fan of grandma. This is a weird thing to read your kid or your grandson before bed." But it's something that became real to him when his grandmother had a heart attack. That he went over to the neighbor's house, banging on the door, and it's like, "Not grandma, fetch." And he, Dr. Beaumont believes that this is something that got burned into his subconscious as a kid, and he had that traumatic experience later in life that kind of reignited this memory in his subconscious about the fetch. So Dr. Beaumont's like, I think he believes the fetch is real, but we need to show him that it's not and that he can overcome this. So I really love the progression of that, because it's not like you just say, this is what a fetch is and yada yada your way through it. There's actually some speculation on what Beaumont thinks this is. He's like, this is textbook schizophrenia. I think we're able to show him that it's not real and get him going on the right path. Because to Nicholas, this is all real. I mean, he's seeing himself in his house because he's, no one else is there. And the mind can do crazy things when you're all alone and you've just gotten out of a state institution. And you hit on what I just want to point out. That's the thing that I really wanted to hit home with this is Nicholas believes it's real. Right. So because he believes it's real, it is real in a way, right? So it affects the world around him. And so therefore it's like the power that you put in faith and in belief of what you think that makes it real, and that's kind of what I was going for. So I'm glad you picked up on that. Yeah, well, and I also figured he had a brush with death too. So he tried to hang himself in the front yard, and luckily his wife got out there to save him. But then he did go spend a month in a state institution, so he's already gone through the ringer with a lot of emotions, and he, like I said, he had that brush with death. So for me, it was like, since he almost hung himself, that's probably why he's like, well, now if I see my evil twin, that death is imminent, death is coming for me, there's nothing I can do. But when you get towards the end of the movie, he really starts to fight it, and Dr. Beaumont does the kind of hypnosis thing. And it's funny because he kind of does that without him knowing it. When they have that guy's night, he comes over, and then Nicholas is like, what's with the third degree, man? I thought we were having a guy's night. What's going on? And then he kind of puts the book down. He takes out his watch and he clicks it. And then he gets Nicholas into this kind of hazy state where, he's going around the house. And it really vibed kind of like Insidious with the further, when he closed his eyes and then the camera kind of shifts into a darker, kind of grittier color grading, and then he gets up and starts walking around. I really enjoyed that. Very, very much vibed like the further from Insidious without seeming derivative at all. So thank you. Yeah, so the lore is great. I really love the lore. And then going back again to that cold open, it's so real to him that he makes this person, well, it's really just grandma asking for help, but in his mind it is, it's so creepy too, like, Nikki, let me in, and you're like, I don't like that at all. Not a fan of that. I'm not letting you in. And it's so tense, especially when he gets grabbed and yanked through the door. Like you really, I was like, what the hell's going on? And then it's later revealed that it was his grandma. And then I love
Not the original opening of the film, by the way.
Oh, would you tell us what the original opening was?
Yeah, the original opening it's still in the film a little bit, or pieces of it, but originally the film opened with young Nicholas running out of the front door of the house and like banging on Shelby's door and screaming for help. And then we'd cut back to see Grandma just walking across the yard really slowly and creepy. Oh. And it was fun, and it worked better in the script. But whenever we got to the edit, it just wasn't as visceral and intense and scary as I wanted. And so we actually, like, I rewrote, or I wrote a whole new opening scene, which is what we see in the film now. And we went and did it in pickups and just filmed it in a day. And like, it ended up being, it's like my favorite scene of the whole film is the opening.
Yeah. And because like it starts off with such a bang. It starts off with this mysterious, horrifying, anybody trying to get into your room, and he's got a bat, so you can feel the fear that he's experiencing because his mind has made this real. He's convinced that this is his grandmother's fetch, because she ended up having a heart attack. So his mind made it real. Then he kind of buried it in his subconscious. Later it gets triggered and it comes back, and now he's in the thick of it in a house by himself, seeing this other entity, and even to a point where he can't remember his son's name. Like, it is affecting him, or not name, his face. It's affecting him so much that when he like kind of smears the picture that he's trying to paint, and his face becomes all distorted. And throughout the rest of the movie, every time he sees him, he's got that distorted face, which is really, really creepy. And I love that you are able to create these scares without, like jump scares. Yes, there are a few jump scares that still work very well, but there's also a lot of just creepy imagery. Like, the first thing that happens that really caught me off guard, because it's in the daytime and you don't ever expect that shit in the daytime, is when Nicholas gets to the house, he's looking at his wife, and you just see him, all dark in the background, turn around. And I was like, nope, I don't like that. Wasn't expecting that at all. So I love the scares that you never see coming, because it's always assumed that daylight is the safe time in horror movies, and you let me know that it's not. So I was on edge the rest of the movie, not knowing when to expect a scare.
Awesome.
And even that one too, where someone just happened to walk in front of the camera too. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not prepared for the scares that are happening in this movie. But even the couple jump scares that are there, I don't feel that they're cheap at all. Like when he's bursting through the window and you get that loud smash of the glass, and he crawls through, and he's just face to face with his twin, and the twin is just laughing maniacally, and he's like, get out of my head. A lot of great imagery in this movie, which I think is done very well. I assume there was some level of digital effects with the kid's face when you were doing that in post, or was okay? But I mean, it doesn't.
Yes, yeah.
It doesn't even look like it. Looks like it could have just been a mask. Honestly, it looks very well done. It's because it's kind of blurry, very reminiscent of The Ring in the photos, with how their faces all got distorted. But yeah, I love the ability to create these scares that don't feel cheap. I didn't see a lot of them coming, and it's just horrifying imagery. Going to the with Nicholas's twin, was that makeup that you guys did and contacts?
Yes, it was all makeup. It was the only CG on him was when we did close-ups and we painted out the edges of his contact lenses. Other than that, he's fully real. It's fully like my wife is also the costume designer on this, and so she like aged up his costume. So like the longer the fetch is in the film, the more decayed his costume gets, and the more like dead his makeup gets. So the first time you see him, he still looks like a corpse, but not as rotted. And then by the end of it, he's like really just all out.
Okay.
Like dead, rotting corpse.
Yeah.
As much as we could afford on a $500,000 budget. So.
Oh wow, that you managed to for $500. That's incredible. That's incredible to do for a pretty low budget. Yeah. So let's talk about the leads here. We talked about Logan Donovan, how you met him. I think he crushed this role, and that's what I love about horror movies. Is there's a lot of times when indie films like this, you have people that you may or may not have heard. Like, I hadn't heard of him before, but he was so convincing to me because he also had to play, kind of two roles there, himself and his evil twin. But he really sold the film for me. And Robert Longstreet is just another. He's a commanding presence on screen. He demands your attention with every scene that he is in. I'd love to talk about how you guys got connected, because I mean, he's such an underrated actor in my opinion. And like I said, I've seen him in plenty of Mike Flanagan productions. So I saw him and I was like, I love this guy. Let's go. So how did you get connected with Robert Longstreet?
So it's crazy. Like once we had our connection with Logan, we got everyone else pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'll say everyone else. So we got Robert Longstreet because Logan happened. Like his partner at the time, she worked with Robert on another production, and like so they're like, Robert would be great for this, and I was like, who? And like, oh, that guy from Haunting of Hill House who has like the incredible monologue. That guy, yeah. And so like we got to work with Robert through that, and then of course Robert's absolutely incredible in everything he does. Midnight Mass, absolutely, wonderful. And so like he's just great, and you're right, he's such a commanding presence. He chews up every scene, and he was so necessary for this film because it's so dark and sad, and we needed someone who could be funny without trying to, without being, jokey all the time. Like he's a fun presence. When you see him, you're excited. And so he really brought that to the role and helped change up the pace a bit from being just sad the whole time.
Yeah, he's got this kind of just joyous attitude, even though you find out that his daughter took her life, 3 years ago on Christmas. And so and that's what I love when Nicholas is like, what makes you think you're qualified to talk about my trauma? And he's just like, my daughter shot herself on Christmas. And you're like, oh shit, that's definitely, you're qualified to help Nicholas with his trauma. And they begin to form this, this some sort of bond, which is nice because of course Nicholas is very standoffish. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be doing this. But I think Dr. Beaumont's able to kind of, get under his skin in a good way to help him just purge himself of the grief and the trauma he's experienced. Because, I have a young daughter. I couldn't imagine going through something like this. It would wreck me. I would need someone there to talk to, even though, if I may be apprehensive at first. But together they work so well. I love their chemistry on scene. You can tell Dr. Beaumont really, really wants to help Nicholas, even though he doesn't really want to at first. But I think it was the conversation they had out on the porch when they kind of just, Dr. Beaumont kind of opened his heart. Nicholas did the same thing. And that's when he's like, all right, we need a guy's night. We need to have some pizza. Like, how do you like your pizza? Let's have a guy's night. And that's kind of when they really start bonding. And so both of those guys were incredible together. I really enjoyed them. So Robert Longstreet, we love you. You're the greatest. Because it's always nice to see like at least one familiar face, and that's why when I saw him, I was like, okay, I'm very interested in this movie, and I think the pacing of it is very good as well because, like I said, the first 30 minutes you're kind of going through the ringer with all these emotions. Things settle down to a certain degree until Nicholas starts seeing all this stuff, and then the ending, the third act, just really ramps it up with Nicholas trying to fight this thing, and Dr. Beaumont helping. As well. So, the subject of grief and trauma, like I said, has kind of been the trend. You managed to capture them so well. I just like even the mental health aspect of it. Like, how were you able to just capture those feelings like on film?
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's a big answer. So, when we did the short Hangman, we didn't realize that people with mental health conditions would relate so much to the short, and that got us really excited. And we realized, we're on to something here. And we, we've dealt with, my wife and I have both dealt with depression, and we've dealt with, like things that aren't quite as serious as what Nick is going through. But the real thing is that really inspired us, I should say, is the actor from Hangman, Chris Allen Evans, who also plays Beaumont's first patient when we see him. That's his little cameo in the film. He has a family member with schizophrenia, and that informed a lot of how we told Nick's story. But also, I have a friend who, once he was diagnosed with schizophrenic tendencies, his wife left him. And so and she pointed out like, and it was because she just couldn't handle it, and it was a sad and messed up situation. You know, it was really bad, and but the way it happened at the time was like he understood why she did it. It was too hard, and they were young, and all this stuff, and so it's all based off of real experiences. You know, it's an amalgamation of things. That's why Dr. Beaumont does say this, you know, is signs of schizophrenia, because I didn't want to fully say, yes, 100% this is schizophrenia. I wanted it to be relatable to people on a spectrum of mental health conditions. And so we did base all of this off of real things that have happened. So people who might think like, oh, Charlie wouldn't do that. Hurt people. And that's kind of the idea here. And no, people don't make great decisions whenever they're going through such trauma and grief. Yeah. And that's really what we were going for. And so we based it off of real things, and I think that helped a lot. Plus, I did a lot of research on schizophrenia. I tried to make it as accurate as possible while still making it cinematic. And I learned the hard way why a lot of films do hypnosis in different ways, because hypnosis is boring. In real life is just boring. And so I took liberties there. And then, I took liberties in a lot of places, maybe, some for better or worse. But as far as like the experience of someone who's going through the grief and trauma and also having mental health conditions, I tried to make that as accurate as possible to our experiences and the experiences of those who lent their stories and their situations to us.
Then that totally makes sense as to why it feels so real. Something that really stood out to me, because I haven't had grief and trauma in the sense of losing a child or something like that. More of my grief and trauma stems from my alcohol abuse when I was younger. I'm now just over a year sober now, but
congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's not been easy, but you realize you have a problem, and then at a certain point I just didn't care, but then you hit a wall with addiction. Yeah. So I hit that wall and just, I was basically go to rehab or get out of the house. So I was like, all right, I'll go to rehab. But I can relate to it in that way, especially when he kind of has, like the things that he's hearing or he thinks he's hearing, like when Dr. Beaumont, he thinks is whispering like, you're a miserable sack of shit. And he's like, what did you say? He's like, I didn't say anything. That represents or at least for me, is like that kind of inner monologue I would have with myself in my active addiction. Like, I don't want to drink. I don't really want to do this. But then I'd have this thing that says, you're going to be doing this forever. Just continue to do it. So it's like this duality of man for me. Like, I had one side of me that wanted to get better and wanted to stop drinking, and the other side that was like, fuck it, just continue to do this. So those little micro moments you have where even in the attic when he's in his head and he's like, you're worthless, blah, blah, blah. Like, those are the thoughts that I would have as someone who was trying to get over alcohol addiction. So that's something to me, I was like, man, that is very real. I wasn't hearing voices, but it's that inner monologue that I would hear telling me that I'm worthless, I don't deserve a good life, like you're just going to be this way forever. So those were those moments I was like, man, this is a very real representation, not only just of grief and trauma, but of just mental health issues that were just conveyed so well on screen, which like I said, it's not easy to do in a movie, to convey the feelings that someone goes through. And you can tell this guy is Nicholas is just grief-stricken from head to toe, because he clearly wants to be better, but there's that thing inside him that's just not letting him get better. So I truly commend how you were able to convey that on screen. And like I said, not everyone is going to be able to relate to that, but I think that's why this movie just hit home for me so much, and why I really enjoyed it. Because in the end, he does overcome it, but there is that kind of one moment at the very end of the movie where, his reflection looks at him. And it's like, for me, I took that as like, I'm able to manage this, but they're never going to go away. It's like, I can't fully be rid of this, but I can find a way to manage life and go down the right track. I just have to be mindful that this is going to be a part of me for the rest of my life. Is that kind of what you were going for with the ending? Am I onto something?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. It's that will always be there. That trauma, that grief, that past, the mental health conditions will be there. But yeah, you have to take responsibility for it. You have to manage it, and just can't let it control you. You have to be in control.
Yeah, and hearkening back to that thing that Dr. Beaumont said, it's like, mental health is not your fault, but it's your responsibility. Like, man, that hit me, and I was like, damn, that is so accurate to anybody dealing with grief, trauma, and mental health issues. So.
Yeah, I stole that line from Marcus Parks from the last podcast on the left, by the way, and he gave us permission to use that line in the film. So
that's awesome.
I didn't just steal it from him. Yeah.
That's amazing. Let's see here. Let me go down my list of stuff. How many scripts did you go through to get that final edit? Like, I know you said you kind of spent more time going through it. Like, how many drafts do you think you had of this before you were like, all right, I'm happy with this?
23.
23. Wow.
Yes. Again, we started writing it in 2016, and I mean, that version was way different, much worse than what we ended up going with. And we ended up bringing my co-writer Paul Peterson on in 2019. And so by that time, 3 years in, I already had a few versions myself. And and most of these versions were versions that like I didn't share with anyone but my wife and a couple of friends. But it ended up going through a lot of drafts.
Yeah.
23, yeah.
23.
I have that number because I specifically remember counting them, being like, wow, I can't believe that. It should be better with that many versions.
So, so you said you started working on the movie itself in 2016? Or was that the short
right after the short came out, we had interest from it, and like it came out in October of 2016, and we already had some people who were like, "Hey, is there a feature version of this?" Mm-hmm. And I lied, and I was like, "Yes, absolutely. This is totally a proof of concept." And so I just banged out a script, and I was like, "Yeah," and then that slowed down. But so it wasn't as there was not as much interest as I thought, but it helped us get it going.
Okay, so yeah, that 23 kind of makes sense if you've been spending that much time on it, and it's not like it's a bad thing. Like 23 thing, it's something that you spent enough time on and you really fleshed out. And I mean, if we didn't have COVID, it might not have gone through the extra time that you spent on it. So it's like sometimes we can thank COVID for things, although it was a terrible situation for everyone to go through. But I know since production. Silver linings, yeah. Like there was this horrible thing that happened, but hey, we got to work on this, flesh it out more, and give ultimately probably the best version of this idea. So I commend you for working on this for so long. So with distribution and Shudder, I always want to know, like, how did distribution happen? Did you give this to Shudder? Did Shudder approach you? Tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, all that credit goes to our distributor Vertical Entertainment, and Vertical picked it up after we had premiered at Austin. They picked up the film, and they secured like that second run deal with Shudder pretty quickly. And so, which as soon as we made this film, like I'm a big horror fan, and I loved Shudder, and I'm like, this would be great if it's on Shudder. That'd be so cool. But then it's probably not going to happen. It's never, it's whatever. But then like Vertical just casually dropped it with us, like, so we're gonna release on VOD July 1st, and then we'll just be on Shudder. We're like, what? Excuse me? They're like, yeah, we'll be on. Here's how they revealed it to us. Actually, I forgot. They sent us the trailer, like the that they had made, and we were like to give approval on, and it had the Vertical and Shudder logo on it, and I was like, oh, that's just a temp, because sometimes distributors will make temp trailers to sell, to show to different platforms to be like, look, this could be you, And so I was like, oh, they just put it on there to show Shudder. And then it never changed in every version of it going forward. And we're like, hey, is this actually going to go to Shudder? They're like, oh, yeah, it's going to go to Shudder. We're like, oh, that would be great to just know.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So they just casually did it like it was no big deal. But for us, it was like, oh, that's huge. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, Shudder is a great platform. They're actually celebrating, I think it's their 10th anniversary this year. They're releasing this 10-disc, like some of their greatest hits over the years or something like that, which is really cool. I didn't realize they had been around for that long, but they've done a lot of. Is this Shudder exclusive or no?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes, it is a Shudder exclusive. The I'm not sure the deal, how long it's going to be, but it's a Shudder exclusive. There is another film on there called The Twin, which came out in 2022, which is a Shudder original. And so, which, by the way, the original title of our film was The Fetch. And that's the title that we wanted. The distributor did not want it. And unfortunately, it changed to The Twin. And so if anyone's curious about that, that was not our choice. And we hate it. We hate the title The Twin. It's The Fetch to us in our hearts. So, I think people are going to get them confused or whatnot. I mean, even even Shudder got it confused whenever they initially announced on their what's coming in August. In, like social media posts, they put a picture from the 2022 film on, and it was like, oh great, see, this is why we hate this title. Anyway, whatever. It's a little rant from me, but
yeah,
the twin, the fetch, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, when you go searching for it, there is one from 2022. Make sure you find the one from 2024. It's got literally such an incredible poster that you'll never forget. It's Nicholas's evil twin looking back, and I love the tattered kind of clothing he has on. It's a really creepy poster. I really like that poster. So yeah, make sure you find the 2024 version of that. And coming up with the look for the twin, I mean, was there any specific image you were going for, or are you just basically like, we just want this to look like an evil version of Nicholas?
Yeah, so if we wanted it to look like the moment of Nicholas's worst, like Nicholas's worst moment in his whole life, which is the moment Jacob died. Right. So the fetch is wearing the same clothes that Nicholas wore in that moment whenever Jacob died. But it's also, and again, his skin is rotting as the film goes on. So it was like, oh, Nicholas's corpse is trying to tell him to kill himself. Yeah. And constantly being a reminder of that worst moment. So that was kind of the idea of what we wanted. And initially in like tests, we did a number of different look tests. The idea for a long time was that he would be made of paint and his paint would be flaking off.
Ooh, okay.
But it's a cool concept mentally, but not when you have a really small budget. And so we ended up not being able to pull off that, but I'm very happy with what we did. It's a corpse Nicholas, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a representation of, it is a representation of its grief and trauma, and getting just kind of worse as the film goes on. It makes a lot of sense because that grief and trauma just kind of gets worse and worse and worse unless you're actively trying to do better. And it's not easy, especially losing a child. I mean, oh my God, I couldn't imagine trying to get over that. But since he's alone at this house, that's really the catalyst for me as to why I think it's just progressively worse and worse and worse. And it's such a heartbreaking scene when you can tell his wife is like, listen, it's like, I'm buried in work. I've got to focus on that. It's gut wrenching because it's like she does want to help, but also like I have to make money. I have to bring money home, and if I'm here, I'm only going to be focused on you. So it's like a selfish act, but I mean it's for her best interest. It just sucks that he's like, well, all right, now I don't have anybody. I have this doctor that I don't really want to talk to in this old creepy house, and I mean, putting yourself back in that situation from when he was a kid and all that traumatic stuff happened, of course that didn't help at all. I mean, that's back where all of this kind of started. And so it must be.
But it also didn't help that for Nicholas, he didn't tell Charlie. Like, Charlie doesn't know much of anything about his childhood. So she didn't know. Right. Like, oh, he's going to be going back to this traumatic place. She just, but also like she, yes, she makes bad, irrational decisions, but so does Nick. They both make bad decisions. Again, hurt people. Yep. And while Charlie's not divorcing him, it feels like it is. I think some people have thought that, they're getting a divorce. It's like, no, she's giving him the ring to work on it as a reminder, like a totem to work on himself. And so, which is technically, she shouldn't have done that. That's, but she's also avoiding her trauma and what she's going through by just dropping Nick off there, out of sight, out of mind, not having to look at him, not having that reminder of Jacob, and then just burying herself in her work for better or worse.
Well, I mean, because I know in regards to my personal life with my wife, I mean, she's very resentful of the things that I put her through with my addiction. So for her, it's like, and I know that she's not blaming him, but there's some sort of resentment that's there because you were supposed to be watching after him. So there is a level of like, I'm mad at you because this was, your time to watch him, but it's not like, I don't think she necessarily blames him, but there's a level of resentment that like, it's hard for me to be around you and put myself
in the suicide.
Right. That too. Yeah. I mean,
now you tried to leave me with everything. You tried to, that was, and I've read stories and heard stories of people who attempted suicide or tried to, and the people who were closest to them felt betrayed. They felt like they were more like, you did this to me, and that's what, and it's such a that's such a weird, like, fascinating thing. It's also tragic and sad, and I'm fascinated by like how like people cope and deal with that, because all of those feelings are valid. But like, yes, someone died, but also like they did that to me too. And anyway.
Well, and yeah, especially because it didn't really seem like a snap decision, because he goes to the garage and he has, I love the kind of effect you do when he's looking around the garage, and it's like kind of his reality feels like it's shifting as he's looking around these things, and then he sees the rope. So I don't really think it's something that he had really planned on doing until he was reminded of all the things from his son. And then, at least it's not shown on screen. He doesn't even leave a note for her saying, blah, 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 because usually when people go to take their life, they'll at least leave a note. I mean, I left the most pathetic note ever. I just said I was sorry, and that was it. Like, I didn't go into any other details, because that's when I was at the lowest point of my addiction. So yeah, not leaving a note, not any of that stuff. And so she's lost her son. She almost lost her husband. It would be really hard to be around him, because she's resentful of the events that happened. And now, like, wow, you tried to leave me with all my grief. And her grief is barely explored in the movie. And I love the scene where Dr. Beaumont, like, next time you see her, ask her how she's doing. Her feelings are valid too. You have to make sure, you got to take care of yourself, but you also need to make sure, what can I do for you? Is there anything I can help you with? So it's just these two people stuck in this just horrible cycle of grief, not making the best decisions, because I mean, your brain is in a very foggy place, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it's a vicious cycle. Yeah,
it's a vicious cycle. It really is, to be in that kind of state of mind. So, and yeah, I mean, it's just to me, and again, this is just as a viewer, it's powerful, because you tackle a lot of major things. You tackle grief, trauma, mental health, self-harm. Children death in movies is like kind of not really a thing a lot of people explore, and I don't say I like it, but I enjoy when filmmakers go that far, because it's a fact of life. Something like this feels real. Something like this could happen. Yeah. He's just in there painting, thinking, Jacob's watching TV, and they even set up that thing with the pumpkin. He's like, "You sure you can get that pumpkin down? Like, that's a little heavy."
It's interesting you mentioned that, because like I know you said you have a daughter. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's 2.
Yeah. So okay, she's 2. Well, it's funny, because I've noticed many times, not in every case, but a lot of the times, people with parents tend to relate more to Nicholas. They're like, "Oh yeah, that could totally happen." Like, yeah, kids getting into crazy stuff. Like, "Oh yeah, that could happen." They're kind of like, but people without kids felt more offended. Right. By like, how is he not watching his kid? How is all that? And I was like, well, have kids and you'll know.
Yeah, trust me.
It can just happen, and it's really crazy like that. And I just thought that was funny. Originally, we did show more of Jacob's death viscerally on screen early on, and I'm glad we pulled that back. But yeah, it was people with parents. They weren't as offended by it as people without kids, and I thought that was just an interesting thing.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it is something that is so real. Especially with like a kid that age, like 5 years old, they are aware enough to understand things, but they're still not. They still don't have a fully like developed prefrontal cortex of like, they still put themselves in danger without realizing it. I mean, like I said, my daughter's 2, and I swear she's just trying to kill herself every day with the stuff she does. And I'm like, let's not do this, let's not do what you're doing. And I have to pull, you have to keep a vigilant eye on them. But with someone that's, a kid that age, it's okay to let them watch TV, to not be breathing down their neck. But it is such a real thing, because he's like, he's talking to him and he's not getting an answer. So he goes in there like, "Hey, where are you?" Pauses the TV. And by the time he pauses the TV, that's when he's falling down the stairs. And it's like, that is such a real scenario that can happen, especially in a house with stairs. He's got that heavy pumpkin. And go ahead.
Sorry, we had a crew member who, after we filmed it, realized like, "Oh no, this could happen at my house," and went and made changes, like put like a baby gate upstairs and like a little thing that, like, he was like, "Oh no, my kid can totally do this." So it was like, it wasn't until he was presented with that he didn't even think about it. I thought that was
right. I mean, yeah, baby proofing houses is the thing. We've got all the plugs and the empty sockets, and we've got a gate so she can't go to a certain part of the house, but it's a very real scenario that didn't seem too far outside reality that could happen. I mean, it's an accident at the end of the day. It's not that he was being negligent. He was trying to get some painting done of his son, by the way. He was trying to paint a picture of his son. And as the movie goes on too, it's heartbreaking, but I love how you dive into when he smears the picture on the face, and now he's like, I can't remember what his face looks like, and he goes and starts throwing the pictures, and he's like, oh my God, I can't remember what my son's face looks like, because yeah, I mean, I'm sure your mind, the mind is a crazy place that can play tricks on you. So he's like heartbroken when he can't remember what his son looks like. Even when he sees, he's clearly hallucinating that he's seeing his son, he still has that face.
Yeah.
And the ending to that movie is so great when he finally finishes the picture, and Charlie's like, oh, it's perfect. And it is a really great picture. Like, it looks just like him. So who's the artist in the on that one? Who did that picture?
Yeah, so that's Hannah Rourke. She also designed all of the Fetch book artwork.
Oh,
she
nice.
did that and designed the Fetch book as well. She's a painter, a production designer. She wasn't a production designer on this, but she did help with all of that. And that really came in handy because we had multiple versions of the painting at different stages.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, originally I was going to try to do it, but I was overwhelmed. I was like, I can't do everything on this. It's not a short film. And so luckily we had people like her who could come in and really knock that out. So I'm glad you liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was very, very good. And so you had she created the entire Fetch book and like the drawings in them as well?
Yeah, I was like, this is what I want to, I wanted multiple versions. Like, we came up with different ideas of like, oh, the Fetch watching the man drown, and the Fetch like catching someone, like holding him and catching them on fire. And if I had more money, I would have done something like that in the film. But yeah, so I came up with multiple scenes of where someone saw their Fetch, and she just knocked it out.
Wow, that's impressive. I just kind of figured that might have been some book that just happened to be found, but the fact that you made that specifically for the movie, it's attention to detail like that I really enjoy. Like, obviously, I don't think the average viewer would know that, hey, we created this for the movie, but like that little detail really adds a lot, especially knowing that it was made specifically for the film. So yeah, that's incredible. See, and this is why I love talking, to directors. You get the little peek behind the curtain of how production was done and stuff like that. What was your shooting schedule like? Like how long did it take you to get everything you needed before you started editing?
Yeah, so we shot October 21st through November 19th, 23 days.
Wow.
And so it was 23-day shoot, and it was really great. We had a great production, and from my perspective and from what I've heard from the crew, like everyone really loved it. It was a good production. And then we did 7 days of pickups about 6 months later in April, 5 or 6 months later. And that was after I had done the first edits and we had figured out what we needed, and we came back for pickups, and that changed everything, because we had the whole opening scene, which is completely new to the film. And then everything else we did with pickups, you can't even tell where they are. They're all little connecting pieces throughout the film.
That's interesting. Yeah. You went through 23 versions of the script and shot for 23 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Is there any other times that number 23 happens to pop up? Because that's kind of funny.
No, yeah,
that's kind of funny.
It's that number too. It's crazy. It's that number. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. So I assume, did you shoot inside of a real house, just like a real kind of farmhouse out in the middle of? It looked pretty secluded from the movie.
Yep. I mean, pretty much everything on the film in the film is real, because again, we had only a $500,000 budget, which is not a lot of money at all, especially for a film. And the house we shot in was actually featured recently in a movie called The Man in the White Van. Okay. It's also they were originally going to shoot The Iron Claw there.
Really?
The A24 film, The Iron Claw. Yes, and they were going to shoot at the same time as us. And we wrote our whole script around that house. We knew we wanted to film in that house. We were really excited about it. And we had that house booked for years, because we were going to make the film earlier with a much lower budget. And we had it locked in, and we reached out like early 2022. We're like, hey, we're doing it this year. It's going to happen. We want to shoot then. It was like, great, cool. Our budget's really small. And we locked it in, whatever. It was good. This guy was going to get, a couple $1,000s for us to just take over his house for a month. And then the Iron Claw comes in with their, I think, like $20 million budget, $30 million budget. And they're like, hey, we really love this house. we'll give you a fifth of their budget in total just to rent this house out for a couple of months. And we were like, oh my God, we have to we can't compete with that. One, why would he say no to them? That makes no sense. I wouldn't do that either. And we had to find a new house. So we spent a couple of months looking for a new house. And right at the last minute, luckily for us, not lucky for the owner, the Iron Claw decided to move their production down to Baton Rouge.
Wow.
And what's funny is the owner, like, he was excited about them coming because he was going to get like a lot of money to let them use his house. And we found out before he did that they were moving, not knowing that he didn't know. And so we called him up really excited, like, hey, so we can use the house now. He's like, what? We're like, oh, sorry, we just informed you really excitedly about how you're not getting all of this money you expected. So it's really, it's funny how it worked out. But he's a super nice guy, and it worked out for us. But yes, long story short, it's a real house, and we wrote the film around it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that I can imagine the frustration if you didn't get that house, because if you wrote everything around it, then it's like, well, I guess we have to. What do you go back to square one at that point? I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of houses we found that were cool, but just nothing hits like the one you were inspired by.
And what I love about, so it's a thing that me and one of my co-hosts love, Corey, is when there's a house that's prominently featured in a movie, I like to be able to know where I'm at in the house, and I do think you do a good job of showing enough of the house to where I'm like, okay, I kind of have a basic layout of what's going on, and now I know where I am inside the house, because sometimes it's very disjointed, and you're like, this house doesn't make any sense. So it's a weird little, like not nitpicky thing, but I love to be able to know where I'm at in the house. And I mean, you shot so much coverage of that house as well. I do want to ask, oh my God, the lady who played the grandmother, I mean, she barely had any screen time, but the one scene, I think it's probably my favorite horror moment, is when she's down in the corner, facing the corner, and she's saying, take me, take me. And then Nicholas looks over, and then her head just, like, it's backwards now, and she starts laughing. Who is that lady? Because my God, Stuff of Nightmares, great job.
Yeah, so that's Pam Daughtry. We were able to cast her through our casting agent, and she was incredible. She is so fun and scary. She played grandma so well. She is terrifying. People were just terrified to be around her when she was in her full makeup.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, there's some fun behind the scenes photos of her just sitting on set, like in her chair, as grandma, just looking creepy, sitting over there. It's great. She was awesome. I wish we could have done more with her, but Pam Daughtry, she does a lot of voice acting. Like, she does voice acting in the English dub of One Piece. People might know her there as like Mama or something like that. I don't watch One Piece, but like, so she goes to conventions and all that stuff. So she's fun. She's great.
Yeah, she, like I said, she doesn't have a lot of screen time, but the screen time she has is very, very effective.
Yeah.
And it's always the people that can perform like a terrifying role that are usually just like the sweetest people offset. Yes. You know what I mean?
Like, such a sweet lady. Yeah.
That's what I love about horror movies is the people that are passionate that work in horror movies. They're like the salt of the earth, like the best people.
Yeah.
But then they can.
It's like David Howard Thornton, who plays like Art the Clown. I think is like the nicest guy.
Yeah, he's extremely nice. They're about to do Terrifier 4 here soon, and I'm like, holy crap. So many movies. So The Twin. I mean, it's even Spencer enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I really do think this is an important movie that tackles a lot of important issues, at least to me. Mental health is one of the most important things in my life that I have to try, and it's an everyday battle just to get up, go through the same routine, and try to keep that positive attitude going when you've experienced just years of just a horrible event. So I think it's conveyed very well. And especially with that ending sequence, I love that ending sequence when he's on the verge of hanging himself, like he's scooting closer, and Charlie and Dr. Beaumont are there just like doing everything they can. It's a very powerful scene that he eventually overcomes and kind of snaps back to it. And it's just like, this is all in your head, man. It seems so real, though. In the moment, it can seem very real to people that have gone through stuff like that, because mind is a powerful organ. Is it an organ? Whatever the brain is, it's a very powerful thing that can mess with you, and it's hard to ignore the thoughts in your head sometimes. It's like sometimes people like that have gone through events like that, it's like I don't feel like I'm in control of my thoughts or what's going on. So to overcome it is powerful. And I love the ending. Again, I love that ending. I want to harken back to that where he knows it's going to be something that he has it's an everyday struggle, but you know, it's easy to maintain once you get in the right headspace, and it does get easier over time. Like, you know, people can heal. It just takes time. But that little look that goes into the, I think it's like the reflection of the glass, was just like the perfect way to end it. I was like, yep, I'm right there with you. So I really do think people need to watch this movie. I'm actually writing up a review for it for my TikTok page to try and promote it a little bit more. But yeah, I think this is something that everyone needs to check out because good source material. And I just love that it seems like you're very passionate about it. You know, I can tell when a filmmaker is passionate about the project because it's just such a good end result. I mean, from the camera work to the color grading to the effects that are done, you know, even the minimal CG effects, they look great. Like they look good. It's not like, oh, that was jarring. So did Aisle 7, did you guys do those effects?
Yeah, so there's 168 visual effects in the film.
Really?
Yes,
wow.
I did 157 of them.
Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah, I think about seven of those are 7 or 8 of those are the paint outs of the wires holding Nicholas or holding the fetch as he's actually hanging at the end of the film.
Oh god!
And a good friend of mine, Nate Cowie, he painted those out, and then the actual fetch merging together with Nick.
Oh yeah.
We had this guy named Andrew did that.
Okay.
But everything else, it was I did all of them. So
wow.
Like painting out the face of Jacob and doing all of that stuff. A lot of little paint outs here and there. All of the fetch eyes, stuff like that. That was all. Wow. That was all me, man. Just trying to save money.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even 168 in that film. Like that's crazy. I only maybe noticed like a couple that I was like, okay, that's probably After Effects, but 168. Okay, you hit them very well. Because I did not notice many. So
the guy walking across the camera that you mentioned earlier, that's all fake.
Was it really?
Yeah.
What?
That's stock footage that I just rotoed out. Just like, but like. I mean, I added like all the the lens distortion around it too. But yes, little things like that
Wow.
I was able to do that in post, and I'm so glad I was able to do that because it added so much to that moment.
Oh, I loved, that was one of the moments I didn't see coming. It walks in front of the camera. I was like, it just makes you go, like, it makes me just go, no, I'm out.
It's so funny. If you could see the original shot, it's just like some stock footage of this old white man just walking like down the street.
Yeah, you made it very dark and creepy and mysterious. I love that.
Yeah.
Couple more, just got like 2 more questions here. Something that I love to ask is, was there a particular scene that you thought was going to be like a quick, just like, all right, in and out, that ended up taking you a lot more time to film? Because that happened to me. I was doing one little thing. I was like, this will take 5 minutes, and it took us like an hour to do. So was there any particular scene you thought would be easy that turned out to not be easy?
Yes. Yeah. So the scene of Dr. Beaumont and Nick sitting on the porch, sitting on the front porch, talking about their that was just talking about things, and when Beaumont talks about his daughter, like that whole scene, I thought, it's simple. It's just they're sitting there talking to each other, whatever. And we originally filmed it. Our cinematographer wanted to do the whole thing in French overs, which is the way the scene starts, right behind both of them, looking at them, almost as if you're sitting in the back of a car seat looking right at them, right? And so he wanted to do the whole scene from there, but I was like, this is an emotional moment. I want to see their faces. Yeah. And so we had a little bit of like, whether or not we should do that, and I was able to convince them, but we had no time to do it. We were running out of daylight, and we also were having to go to lunch, and our actors didn't it's a tough emotional moment for both of them, and they were like, I don't want to, it's hard to just cut that on and off, right? So it was like, we either get it now or we don't, and so we really had to rush to get that in. But I mean, Robert killed it talking about it. That's one of my favorite moments of his talking about his daughter, and luckily we actually ended up filming a pickup of it whenever it gets close in on Nicholas and he's talking about how he's seeing things. That's a pickup we did later in April.
Oh, wow.
And just to fit in right there because we didn't really have that moment. And luckily you can't notice. It's actually raining in that scene and it's all ADR for that shot, but you can't tell. So because we did a really good job of hiding it, at least I hope so.
I could tell, that all seemed like it was done the same day. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So, that was a really much more complicated scene. It felt like, it's just two guys talking. A lot more than that. So. Yep.
Totally get that. And then do you have any fun BTS stories you'd like to share? I always love to hear about what happens behind the scenes. And anything fun that you wanted to share.
So I told you about the house debacle. That was fun. At the end of the film, whenever Jacob and Nick are, it's in his mind, and Nick is trying to see Jacob's face, and Nick is crying. He's like tears coming down his eyes. Well, little Jacob, played by the incredible Trip Tuple in his feature film debut, we did a smart thing, and it came to producing this, where we had Logan and Trip meet each other a couple of months before we filmed. So they got to know each other. They would do like weekly Zooms. They became friends because we knew that like whenever we put Logan in this fetch makeup, it was going to be scary, especially for a 5-year-old, right? And so we also let Trip in on the makeup sessions where he could sit there and watch Logan get makeup on. And they were joking back and forth. So it was a really good thing to get them that close together, right? Like, because that way Trip was never afraid of him in the makeup. He just thought it was his friend Nick in makeup. And so that was really good. And that helped a ton in production. But during that moment, when Nick is crying on screen and he's really, just talking about how much he loves and misses Jacob, and he's having that connecting moment with Charlie, Trip had, he's 5 years old and he loves his friend Logan. And when Logan was crying, it broke Trip's heart. He could not stand it. It was so, he just like, is he okay? He's sad about his son. He was just like really upset, and he started crying. He didn't want to do the scene anymore.
Oh no.
So we had to pause and like redo it, and like Logan had to like do a couple takes without crying because Trip was like, I don't want him to cry anymore. I don't want him to do it. And he was time is money on film. We were like, we don't have time for this. What are we doing? And so we kind of had to like fib to him, like, he's not going to cry anymore. One of our producers was like, Trip walked up to him. He's like, is Logan going to cry again? He goes, just one more time. It'll be okay. And I was like, no, don't say that. Don't say that. We're going to lie to him. We're just so we can get it on camera. And then of course that delayed production another 30 minutes just because of that. So it's a really sweet moment. Of course, it was really sad. He didn't want his friend to cry. Luckily we were able to get it. But it was just like that little moment of like, they're really close, and he just didn't want it. He thought Logan was really upset about his real son. He's like, he's really upset about his son. I don't, and so it was just a sad moment. That's a little fun moment.
That's so sweet though. Like that's so sweet. Like, because I think it is important too, especially like for a father-son to have that kind of the camaraderie together and kind of get to know each other. That's very smart to do, because you could have fooled me like that. That could have been his real life son for all I knew. Like you could tell that he loved him. And that's probably what helped with establishing that connection right off the bat, because they had known each other for a few months, getting to know one another. Cause it's like, I was able to instantly connect with them. I'm also a parent too, so I'm sure that probably helped. Of like, this seems like a real family. Like the love you once, love you twice, love you 3 times that she would kiss. Like I was like, that's That is something that a mother would do. So it's crazy.
Co-writer Paul Peterson did that. He came up with that. Credit to him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else about the movie that you wanted to highlight or talk about before we kind of wrap up here?
Oh man, I think we covered a lot of it. Like I really appreciate that you were able to relate, in positive ways to this, and that was my goals. I wanted people who've experienced things like this to understand it, and I wanted people who haven't experienced things like this to be able to understand it, or at least gain a new perspective on it. And I hope that I did that. Again, we took liberties where we could to keep it entertaining, and I just hope that we treated people, in the mental health community with respect, and I'm really, that's my main goal. And I hope people got scared. So I hope that happens for them. So I hope everyone got scared.
Oh yeah, you definitely got me a few times with a lot of those scares, especially like the ones that, like I said, the daylight ones that I didn't see coming at all. There's a lot of times where I'm like, something's gonna happen and then it doesn't, or nothing's gonna happen and then it does, and I'm like, okay, unpredictable scares. I love this. So yeah, so you definitely hit the creepy vibes in the movie, and from someone who, had mental health struggles all the time, I was able to relate it. It seemed like you said, you did a lot of research on, kind of those topics, and it shows, because it's not like and it's not like in a bad way, like, oh God, no, I related because I'm like, this just feels so real. Like, it's not something because you can clearly tell when someone's writing a movie, like, okay, they don't really understand the subject matter, but it really, for me, it's like, yeah, they understand people dealing with mental health struggles, and this is a very, very good representation from my point of view as a viewer. So I think you nailed it. So promote yourself. Where are you on social media? Where can people find your movies? Let us know so they can go follow you.
Yeah, so I have a lot of short films. The Twin is my first one, obviously, first feature. So of course that's on Shudder.
Okay.
You can also get it on Amazon or Apple or wherever you VOD buy films, and so you can get it there. But also, I have my short films, Warpaint and Hangman, and my wife's short film, Candyland, that I also am in. That's all on YouTube, on Crafty Shorts. You can find those on Crafty Shorts on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And so you can check those out. And then I'm on Instagram. I'm not really active on Instagram, and then Facebook, and you can find me sometimes responding to people on Reddit, on the Shudder Reddit. I made a post on that, so I'll respond. If you have questions, you can leave questions on there. I'm still responding to that thread. Okay. So and you can find me there. Yeah, so I'm around, or on our website, aisle7post.com. That's AISLE7POST.com.
Yes, and they're very quick to respond, as I did a contact you, and I got like an email about like an hour later, and I was like, oh wow, that was very fast. So they do respond if you have any questions, comments, anything. So definitely go check them out. If you guys enjoy the show, please rate and review on your favorite podcast app of choice. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Slasher, Blue Sky Threads, and YouTube at Frightmare's Podcast. My Letterboxd is Dr. Proctor. You're on Letterboxd because you're responding to people who write reviews. So what is your Letterboxd for people out there?
JC Doler.
JC Doler.
Yeah, it's my name, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so go check him out on Letterboxd. If you write a review, he will like and respond, as he did to my friend Spencer. So definitely go.
Right, love it or hate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So go leave a review. Go leave a rating. JC, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. It's always nice when directors take time out of their day to talk to a goofball like me. So thank you again for being here. Next episode is going to be me and Spencer talking about The Collector from 2009. Until next week, guys, stay tuned and stay spooky.